Lesbians. Where did they come from? How did they get here? What do they want from us? Vaginas? Well, thanks to some scientists at the University of Nicosia in Cyprus, we can answer at least one of those questions. Lesbians exist because straight men want them to. The warm glow of curiosity satisfied. Thank you, science. Okay, so I saw this flying around Twitter this week, and I figured that we should talk about it. Lesbian relationships only exist because men find it a turn-on, claims study, as reported by The Independent. This is a real article, and it is based on a real study. But just as a heads up, the study was published back in 2017. So this is not the first time that Twitter has been very upset at this particular news item. And let's face it, it won't be the last. Next year, someone else will find it, tweet it, and we'll all be up in arms again. It's fine. It's fun. Menelaos Apostolou, is the scientist behind this, and of course he is an evolutionary psychologist. For those of you just joining me, evolutionary psychology is a field that is rife with pseudoscience, racism, sexism, and just utter bullshit. And this particular study happens to check at least 3 of those boxes, possibly more. To be clear, as bad as the study was, the article about it in The Independent is maybe just as bad. So we'll get to that in a second. But the paper itself simply involved a survey of 1,500 heteros. Yes, this scholarly look into the origins of lesbianism did not require the input of any actual lesbians. And these heteros answered questions about how much the gays turned them on. They found that hetero women weren't that into dudes who had sexual contact with other dudes, but that hetero men were into women who had sexual contact with other women. That's basically it. Those are their findings. From these findings, the researchers developed a new theory for the evolution of female same-sex attraction. Love a scientist who has no fucking clue what theory means, don't you? I definitely have a lot of trust in them to produce good, interesting research. Their weak-ass theory, which of course is actually an untested hypothesis, is this. A considerable portion of men desire same-sex attractions in women, and this is one possible reason why many women have such attractions. It's basically the drunk chicks in college trying to impress the frat brothers by making out hypothesis. This really brings up a lot of questions for me, like, are women really going down on each other in the privacy of their own homes every night because maybe a man might be watching through the window? Are women out there settling down and raising children together on the off chance that some man's kink includes her changing dirty diapers? Which you know it does. You know there's a guy like that out there. No kink shaming. Also, if that's their conclusion from their survey, what about gay men? Gay men exist, but the hetero women interviewed weren't that into them. So why do gay men exist? Are straight men also into them? Are straight men the reason why everything exists? The researchers also throw out some hypotheses for why men are more interested in women who are attracted to women. They say that it's not threatening to the man because if his partner cheats on him with another woman, she can't get pregnant. That, again, it just makes perfect sense with the data. Clearly, the opposite wouldn't be true for women. I mean, if their male partners were attracted to other men and they had an affair, they could definitely get pregnant. Wait a minute. Can they? No, that's not right. That doesn't make any sense at all. Essentially nothing about this paper makes any sense at all. And it's frankly humiliating for the journal Personality and Individual Differences to have published it at all. But I guess when you have a giant pool of evo-psych nonsense to sort through, picking one that's more publishable than another is just a hopeless task. It would be like going to the pet store to pick out a fish to run a marathon for you. I mean, you're not going to find any winners, I assure you. A lot of this bullshit boils down to the wrong idea that everything we see around us as humans must be adaptive. everything we do, how we look, and, all of this, it must have evolved with us because it was helpful in some way back on the savannah. If you have that kind of low-level idiotic view of the world and of evolution, it's easy to see how things like gay people might scare you. After all, if every major aspect of humanity is here because it inspired more people to fuck and to have more babies and to raise those babies to adulthood so that they can fuck, then how do you explain gay people? They can't even have kids. The answer, as always, is I think you'll find it's a bit more complicated than that. There actually are some adaptive hypotheses for gay people, like they make really good aunts and uncles, for instance. But also you have to realize that some genetic traits are adaptive and others are just coincidental. And not everything about humans can be found in our genes, especially when it comes to larger societal behaviors. We have yet to find a gay gene, and we may never. So remember, the next time that you see a scientist or journalist claiming to have found evidence for how a certain human characteristic evolved, adapted, then ask to see the genes and the evidence. Otherwise, more often than not, it's a story that person made up based on a survey because it happened to fit his preconceived biases. Like, I don't know, lesbians only exist because they know I want to fuck them?